Welcome to episode number 268 of the Marine Layer podcast. The Mariners finish out the first half strong. I can't believe they get swept against the Yankees and then sweep the Tigers and score 35 runs. Yeah, I can't get a read on this team. We'll talk all about it in this episode to wrap up the first half.
Your guys, a reminder, make sure to stay on top of everything we're doing. To do that, you can go over to our website, marinelayerpod.com. Download our episodes, rate and review. Please leave a 5-star review, and then like, comment, subscribe over on YouTube. You can also find all of our merch, Patreon, and our upcoming live show schedule, which we'll continue to remind you. Our next one is this upcoming Friday, July 18th. Post-game, after Mariners-Astros, it'll be over at the Hall on Occidental. Little bit of a different format. We're not going to be doing a full show. We're just going to be hanging out, having some drinks, taking your guys' questions, giving away a bunch of stuff. It's going to be really fun. We may even do it outside if the weather's good, right outside the hall. So come on by. You'll be walking back from the game anyway. You can stop in and hang out with us for a while. We'd love to have you there. So all that's over at our website. You can also find us all across social media at Marine Layer Pod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive deep to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game is 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network, recording again here on Sunday evening, July 13th. And people were saying this to us, Lyle, and I kind of agree with it. I think we should do our Julio episode earlier next year. So he starts turning it around earlier, and he has a performance like he had against the Tigers this weekend, and he goes yard in 3 straight games. Maybe we're the magic touch.
Great. If we're the magic touch, we should just say in March, Julio's going to have a 650 OPS for the year.
Yes. What's wrong with Julio Rodriguez? Guys, it's spring training. Yeah. Can you relax a little bit? No. I do think it is a little funny, the timing of that, timing of how that all works out.
Well, and then subsequently, if we say preseason, he'll have some 630 OPS for the year. He'll go out and hit and have an 1,000 OPS. So, sure, let's do that.
I think we're the key to him winning an MVP. But also on Friday, something we didn't even get to talk about in our Julio episode was that he pulled out of the All-Star game at that moment. These things that I can't guarantee, I say they affected how he played in this Tigers series, because ultimately this road trip showed you how the Mariners are, as they have been in this entire season, inconsistent, hard to get a read on. I mean, how about that firestorm on Twitter after Thursday's Yankees game? It was a toxic mess on there. Any one of you guys who are listening who are contributing to that, you know damn well it was toxic on there, and everyone was arguing from all the sides as well. And they go out and then they score 35 runs against the best team in the American League, a team that has kicked their ass for nearly 2 years, and it seems like everything's fixed again. And they faced Tarek Skubal in this series. Skubal, Mize, and Jack Flaherty. And they scored 35 runs.
I'm on a real heater these days. We had the Julio episode talking about the things he struggled with this year, and then I essentially guaranteed a loss against Tarek Skubal. So, I mean, if you want a little behind the scenes, we were on the flight to Atlanta for All-Star Week during the Tarek Skubal game. I actually was watching because I had Wi-Fi on the plane, and I was watching the game on Apple TV. But TJ and I had planned to do some content behind the scenes where we assumed Tarek Skubal was going to go 8 shutout in that game, and TJ was going to get a recording of me just like walking through the aisle on the plane. I get to his aisle and I start looking at him and just basically start either screaming or pretending like I'm going to scream, like just like silently screaming. And he was going to tweet out, "Looking forward to Atlanta for All-Star Week if Lyle doesn't get us kicked off this plane off the Tarek Skubal start," or something like that. Because like I was fully planning for 8 shutout from Tarek Skubal. But no, the Mariners hit him. They've hit him twice now this year, and they won the game and scored double-digit runs. Baseball really makes no sense way too much of the time. How on earth has this team, who's had a laundry list of offensive issues all year, multiple years now, how on earth do they score all these runs against Tarek Skubal in multiple starts? They've scored, 7 runs off him this year?
Yeah, that sounds right. Good question. And they also technically they beat Paul Skeens in a game he started. They did not score any runs off of him. So I guess we just need to roll the Mariners lineup out in Atlanta on Tuesday.
I guess.
I guess. Oh, they scored 35 runs, Lyle, and Cal Raleigh only homered in one game of the series.
Crazy.
That is pretty crazy. Let's talk about this situation with Julio for a sec. So he has this series against the Tigers, which is awesome to see. He also doubled again here on Sunday. It's really an amazing performance. He went oppo with his home run today here on Sunday. It's awesome to see. It's great to see. I can't sit here and tell you that Julio took pressure off his shoulders by not going to the All-Star game and knowing he was going to get to reset and went out there and played sort of a carefree 3 games. I can't guarantee and say that because I'm not sitting there in the clubhouse. I'm not on the road in Detroit with the team. But hey, if he sat there after that Yankees series and was like, all right, we need to turn some stuff around, and this Tiger series is a good start to that. I'm going to say that's a really good start to what we could potentially see in the second half with Julio. We're going to have to see it after the break as well. He's not just going to roll into the Astro series and keep on going. But we've been waiting to see this Julio for a minute now. Even when he was hitting well earlier in the season, he didn't homer in 3 straight games. He's not showed the consistent power like this yet this season. So this series was a good mark for him. And him and Cal could have a moment together where they're both slugging together. I mean, we talk about, what if Julio hits 30 and Cal hits 60? That's one of the most dangerous duos in a lineup ever. And it's harder to stop this offense.
Again, so I'm going to say this with caution because I'm not going to put too much into the Tigers series. I want to see how the series against the Brewers and the Astros play out because we know this 12-game stretch is a ridiculously tough stretch and maybe the toughest one they'll have all year. So I want to see how they come out of the 12-game stretch. I think I said 5-7 was what I'd like to see them do to at least keep them in good standing to get through the 12 games. So if they do that and they can essentially just win a game against each of the Astros and the Brewers, they'd be in fine standing. Hopefully they do more than that. But if they go 5-7 in those 12 games, you're in okay standing. Similar to with Julio, where okay, I don't want to just take the 3 games and say everything's fixed. Let's see a bigger sample size of it. But I will say this. If this is real, and if this Julio is going to carry into the second half and throughout the second half, all of a sudden people don't want to see this Mariners team. If Julio is really going to continue to do this, and it's an if because we have to see it for longer, you don't want any part of the Mariners in the second half with Cal, with Julio, with guys in the rotation getting healthy. All of a sudden this team gets pretty terrifying.
Dude, and Randy. And Randy just continues to do his thing. Let's get a shout out to our man Randy Arozarena, All-Star. This Mariners team has all these All-Stars. The only team, they're up there in terms of All-Star selections for teams.
Yeah, they have 5, which is crazy. They have 5 All-Stars. And again, it helped that Randy got hot at the right time. It's always tough to judge what Randy's going to be on a given week because, again, Randy gets so hot for short flashes of time where he carries an offense for 1 to 2 weeks in those types of stretches. But it's his seasons are very, they can be Luke Raley-esque at times where, he has a month where he's really hot and then he has a month where he's really cold, and it ends up coming out to a productive year every year. But, yeah, let's hope, even if Randy's not going to do what he's doing right now throughout the whole second half, let's hope you have a productive second half, Randy Arozarena. Because if you do, again, with Julio, with Cal, with JP, team looks a lot different if these guys are going to hit together and at the same time.
Let's start painting a broader picture on this first half. So the first half is now officially over with it being the All-Star break. Lyle, if you're sitting here right now and you're thinking, what is my biggest takeaway from what I've seen with this Mariners team in the first half? What is it?
You cannot get a read on them. So unbelievably inconsistent. There is no better painting of that than what just happened this week. From blowing that Brian Wu near no-hitter on Thursday to sweeping the best team in the American League throughout the weekend after getting swept in the Bronx. I don't know what to do. I want to see how these Brewers and Astros series pan out very, very much because I think it's going to tell an even greater picture. But I think my takeaway is just they are impossible to get a read on every time, every single time.
I'm going to say my number one takeaway is I don't want to say we were right about the rotation because we did say they were going to regress going into this season, but maybe I'll say this. Even if your rotation is talented as any rotation in baseball, it can always be undone based off of how the baseball gods feel about you in a given season. Because the Mariners objectively this year are still expected to go into this year and have a very good rotation, an elite rotation that is, and go out there and perform with the best in baseball. If you were to tell me right now that all of Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, and Brian Wu were all healthy right now, and the Mariners would still be pretty much outside the top 10 in rotation production at the break, you would say, all right, well, that just doesn't really feel right. Well, I've come to realize this season that it just unfortunately doesn't even seem like something you can rely upon on a year-to-year basis. I feel like you'll know pretty early on if your rotation has it that year, and you're going to go out there, and that's going to be one of the things that can carry you this year. The Mariners' rotation, again, has been very good this year, but in terms of like what I've taken away from the first half, I mean, we tweeted out the stat when we were heading out on Friday. The Mariners' rotation pitching staff in general is in the bottom third in baseball when they're pitching on the road. That still has not been fixed, and that was also another major storyline of the first half. Just the difference of this team home and on the road. That ballpark, man. That ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real issue. Again, after the Yankees series, what do we highlight as the two biggest issues of the team? Julio's still not hitting. Again, this was before the Tigers series started. And they can't pitch on the road. They've struggled on the road. Let's hope that turns a little bit in the second half. You don't have to be the best team in baseball in road ERA. You don't even have to be in the top 5. But can we be somewhere like in the 12 range rather than in the bottom third to balance things out a little bit? Because that makes a big difference if you are. Even if you're league average on the road and really good at home. You can't have constant blow-up starts on the road. You play half your games away from home. They've got to find ways to win more games, have more consistent quality outings when they're away from T-Mobile Park.
Oh, I have another one, too. Cal Raleigh's ability to eliminate cold streaks is amazing. What he has done this year to eliminate those stretches where he goes in and he strikes out 40% of the time, which he had done in the past. Mm-hmm. But this year, every time he steps to the plate and you think he's going to go on a series where he's just not going to perform very well, like this road trip, I fully expected him. He could potentially not hit a home run that series because they're facing some very good pitchers, and Cal's been so consistent this season. That's like, all right, he does at some point need to not hit a home run. And then he comes on Friday and he hits 2 home runs against the Tigers while we're on the plane, including a grand slam. And it's like, all right, well, I guess he's ready for the Derby now. Also, I'm going to just call my shot right here since we're recording on Sunday. The Derby's tomorrow. This episode comes out 2 days after that. Cal Raleigh's winning the Derby. So you guys can hold me to the fire if that's not true.
Wow, congratulations to Cal Raleigh, the 2025 Home Run Derby winner. Clap it up for the guy. Woo! All right, he does fall 1 home run short of Barry Bonds. Sad day, I know, he didn't quite do it, but that is as ridiculous a first half as I've ever seen anybody in a Mariners uniform put together. Absolutely unreal. I know there's not that much new or more to say on Cal, but as we put a bow on the first half, unreal. Absolutely unreal. He is amazing.
How about this? Next question for you. Most important Mariner hitter, starter, and reliever in the second half.
Okay. I'll fire a question back at you when we get done with this one. But you want to go non-Cal Raleigh hitter?
Yes, preferably.
I mean, is the answer Julio? I feel like it has to be.
You could choose someone like J.P. Crawford, who continues to be good, but what if you got April J.P. Crawford? April J.P. Crawford was a dog. He was crushing it.
I think these last 3 games just also remind us how different the team is when Julio's hot. I know it's not all the time because he's a streaky hitter too, but when he's hot, man, things are just different. It's just different. So I'll say Julio at the plate. I'm going to say Logan Gilbert on the mound because he still hasn't thrown 6 innings since opening day. So they need Logan Gilbert to get back to that very badly and work deep into games. I know he had the injury. I know the Mariners are being cautious with him, which is totally understandable. But he led the league in innings pitched last year. He was a workhorse. Just hasn't quite been the same thing this year. So I would say Logan Gilbert on the mound, Julio at the plate, and I'll say Matt Brash in the bullpen because you need guys behind Munoz, and he has been dynamite this year.
Whew. Starting pitcher. So I can't pick Logan.
Well, you could pick Logan.
I could, but that's a boring answer. How about this? I'm going to go Luis Castillo. Think of the difference a good Luis Castillo, especially on the road, by the way, makes in the second half. He's been very good at home this year, but if Luis Castillo does what he does on the road for just 2 months, you don't need a full season of it. You just need 2 months worth of good road Luis Castillo. Say that's 4 starts, potentially 5 starts. depending on how it sequences out, that would make a huge impact on this team, yeah?
Well, and for context, he has not been good on the road this year, Luis. So that's the idea. Turn around his road starts.
He's got like a 2.2 home ERA and a 4.6 road ERA. It's up there on the road. It's not great. Hitter. Would it be crazy to say Dom Canzone? Or should I just say Randy?
You talked about JP. You talked about, Randy. I mean,
I'll say Randy. Because they've been scoring some runs since Randy has really turned it on here in the last couple of weeks. Randy's been a streaky hitter, kind of like Julio. He's always been a streaky hitter. I think the Mariners hope this streak lasts most of this next 2 months. And I think they look at the 2-month stretch he had in the middle of last season where he was one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball and hope they can get that kind of stretch out of him down the stretch run of the season. So you have Cal, Julio, Randy, JP leading off, and you feel a little bit better about yourself. Reliever. Man, this is tough. I almost want to pick someone who's not on the roster right now. Like, I want to say,
You want to say BG?
I could say BG. Yeah, I'll go with our guy BG. Because Brandon Garcia, by the way, for those who aren't catching on to that, he's down in Tacoma. He's throwing gasoline. And, shout out to our guys, by the way, at Cespedes Family Barbecue. They're interviewing J.J. Weatherholt at the interview segment before the Futures game this weekend. And J.J. Weatherholt, who's a slam dunk top prospect in baseball, by the way, top 10 pick in last year's MLB draft, said, toughest at-bat I've ever had in the minor leagues against Brandon Garcia. Tough guy to hit against. I do think BG's going to have a role if they decide on it, and I think they will, in this bullpen in the second half. He doesn't have to be the ultimate leverage reliever. I need someone I can trust in the 6th inning. That's what I want right now. Mariners have 3 leverage relievers right now. How about we get someone in the 6th inning who I can confidently say is going to go out there and get those outs and have some borderline overpowering stuff. Doesn't need to be Matt Brash, doesn't need to be Gabe, doesn't need to be Andres, but maybe a little bit above some of those other guys.
If you want a prediction from us, I will say within the next month of this episode coming out, we will see Brandon Garcia in the big leagues. May even be sooner than that. I don't think he's that far away. I think the way he's pitched in Tacoma has been incredibly encouraging, and I think we're getting pretty close here to his timeline. So I would say by the middle of August, we will see Brandon Garcia. That's my prediction. When he comes up, I think he's going to be important because he's got high-octane stuff, can miss bats, got the bowling ball type of sinker. I think he could play a real role.
And you had a question for me?
Most surprising or impressive non-Cal Raleigh player in your eyes in the first half? Surprising, impressive, however you want to take it.
Surprising, impressive. I'd say Brian Wu and the ability to take what he had in the final 2 months of last season. I'm almost stealing your thunder here. You're probably like, damn it. Brian Wu's ability to take what he did last year in the final 2 months and make that not a fluke is very important. It wasn't just the last 2 months where Brian Wu was pitching well last year, but he wasn't the longevity, bulldog kind of pitcher that he was at the end of the year last year. What does he come out here and do this year when he goes out on the mound? And he was the one guy all offseason who said he did not work on an extra off-speed pitch. And I remember you and I were sitting there talking about, okay, I mean, Brian knows his arsenal better than we do. Didn't decide to work on another pitch. Let's see how it works out. Turns out he doesn't really need it right now. No, it doesn't really need it at all. And he becomes the only pitcher in baseball at the All-Star break to go 6 innings in every single one of his starts. And he capped off the first half with the best start of his career. He's amazing. And he topped it velocity-wise, too. So that'll be my guy.
My answer wasn't going to be Brian Wu, funny enough. You know why? Because I knew he was going to be a Bulldog this year. No, he didn't surprise me. We saw what he did in the second half last year, and I was totally bought in on that. And I fully expect him to go out and do similar things this year. Now, I didn't know he was going to go 6 innings every start, but I knew he was going to be a Bulldog, so come on. Anyway, you know who I'm going to go with for mine? Matt Brash. And it's not because we don't know he's great. He is. But sometimes you take for granted when guys come off a Tommy John surgery, that is not easy to just come back and figure it all out again. There are a lot of guys, when they get back from Tommy John, they have a year, maybe a year and a half, where they're not the same guy, and it takes them some time to work back into things, and they're not the exact same lethal arm that they were before going down with the injury. Look at somebody like Walker Buehler. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball before Tommy John. Hasn't really been the same guy since he got back. So you never know with these Tommy John guys how it's going to happen when they get back healthy, especially because Brash's recovery was so fast. It was 12 months. Well, since he's been back, this might be the best version of Matt Brash. This is the most ERA-wise, this is as successful as he's been in a Mariner uniform. So to have that guy return to exactly who he was, in a sense, behind Munoz in this bullpen, where would they be right now without Matt Brash not just getting back way ahead of schedule, but being just dynamite?
Make a prediction for the second half as we close this episode out. By the way, back to full episode on Friday when we talk to Joe Doyle.
Big prediction. The Mariners trade for Ronald Acuna. I mean, hey, we'll put this out on social media eventually. We talked to a robot here in Atlanta at All-Star Week who was called the Acuna bot, and he had an Acuna sign on the back of his robotic body. And I asked, so you still gonna be repping Acuna when he's a Mariner? He didn't say no. That's all I'll spoil.
Okay. My prediction is Harry Ford is still going to be in a Mariners uniform on August 1st. His deadline's on the 31st. August 1st, Harry Ford is still going to be a Mariner. Mariners could go out and trade somebody else, I think. They could look at this and say this is a good situation to think about for a little bit longer as opposed to making a quick decision based off of who they just drafted on Sunday.
All right. I like that.
You have one last note from Sunday, by the way, that you forgot to.
Oh, I do.
You forgot to put in.
On Sunday's episode, or on Monday's episode, we talked about the draft, and we were talking about the 3 picks: Kate Anderson, Luke Stevenson, Nick Becker. How did I not lead off with this? Luke Stevenson makes 1,500 PB&Js a year, dude. We're about to be best friends. I'm already calling it. Him and I are about to absolutely vibe. I'm calling it right now. That is the easiest conversation starter I've ever had with any person, and I'm just waiting to use it when I eventually meet him.
He said 1 PB&J sandwich for every 3 at-bats. Does that sound like something you could do?
Short answer, yes. Yes. You know what? If I had taken Luke Stevenson's advice and I had taken his route and had 1 PB&J every 3 at-bats, I'd be in the big leagues right now.
Okay. I don't think there's anything else to wrap up from Sunday. We're looking forward to getting back to the full episodes coming out on Friday. It's been a long weekend for us. It'll be a longer next couple of days as the Home Run Derby's coming up tomorrow on Monday as of recording. On Tuesday, we have the All-Star Game. Cal will be featured heavily in both. Maybe Randy Rosarena will check in with a home run on Tuesday. That could be a whole bunch of fun. We look forward to getting back to you guys in full on Friday. And a reminder, our next live show is coming up this Friday at the Hall in Occidental. It'll be post-game Mariners-Astros. It's a 7:10 first pitch. We'll be getting going a little shortly after the game ends, whenever the people start flowing through there at the Hall in Occidental. Come get some Corona stuff. Come hang out, have a couple of drinks. It's going to be an absolute blast there at the Hall in Occidental this Friday after the game against the Astros. That'll be fun. See you guys then.
I've got one more real second half prediction, but I'll do that after a quick pause when we talk to you guys about our friends over at Pagacci's Pub 85. That's over in Kirkland. Awesome spot to hang out. You guys know it's really cool neighborhood bar over in Kirkland. They've got great food, a bar and restaurant. Great food. There's games like pool and darts. There's 20 TVs, so all the sports viewing you could imagine. You can hang out over there and watch a bunch of games with your friends, with family, whoever. And if you go during happy hour, there's awesome drink specials that are $3 and $4 from 2 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. $3 and $4 drinks. Those are awesome deals. That's Pagacci's Pub 85 over in Kirkland. All right. More of a real second half prediction, if we're going to stick on the trade deadline. Gino comes back. That's my somewhat bold, not quite Ronald Acuna prediction. Gino's back. And that'd be sick. Talk about the vibes in that clubhouse.
Now, we'll note the source here, but Bob Nightingale did report on Sunday that the Diamondbacks would be selling. He essentially listed off every notable Diamondback that could be sold would be available at the deadline. I know Mike Hazen said some other things earlier in this month, but it does kind of seem like the Diamondbacks will make those guys available. So whether it's Gino, whether it's Josh Naylor, they could go try and trade for a bullpen arm from Arizona too. I agree. I do think those guys are available. The Mariners should, I'm going to say this again, should be able to outbid any team in Major League Baseball for a player. If they want one, I hope they go out and get it.
We'll find out in a couple weeks. Now that the draft is over, it's trade deadline season, people. Like, the draft takes up every front office's time, so much of it. That's why trades don't happen that much anymore early. There's just not time for it. Now, the next 2 weeks, buckle up, because it's going to start. And let's hope the Mariners are at the forefront of a lot of these trades, because there's real upgrades they need, and I hope they make them. So, I can't wait. All right, that just about wraps up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. If you want to find all of our stuff, it's over at marinelayerpod.com. Full episodes, audio and video. If you're listening, make sure to download, please rate and review, leave a 5-star review. It does help the show a lot. Like, comment, and hit that subscribe button over on YouTube. That's the best way you can support the channel, is hitting subscribe. It really does help us out, really does support us. And then over on our website as well, go get your merch. No better time than to get some of the stuff TJ's wearing right here on the show for the second half of the year. Shirts, hats, hoodies, long sleeve shirts, whatever you desire. There's also Patreon if you want to sign up for our Patreon. And then go check out our live show July 18th, this Friday, after Mariners Astros. We're going to be hanging out with you guys, just kind of kicking back. Not a full-on production show, just talking ball, giving stuff out, having some drinks over at the Hall on Occidental. We cannot wait. So again, marinelayerpod.com. That's where you can find all of our stuff. It's a one-stop shop. And then just follow us all across social media at Marine Layer Pod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.